ADHD, or attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects how children think, behave, and interact with the world around them. It's more than just being hyper or having trouble focusing. ADHD impacts the brain's ability to regulate attention, impulses, and activity levels. For kids with ADHD, everyday tasks like sitting still, listening, or organizing their things can feel like climbing a mountain. You might be wondering why ADHD happens. While researchers are still learning about it, one thing is clear: ADHD isn't caused by bad parenting or laziness. It's a real medical condition that affects millions of children worldwide. Some kids are diagnosed as early as preschool, while others aren't identified until they're older. The key takeaway? ADHD is manageable, and understanding it is the first step toward helping your child thrive. So, what does ADHD look like? Well, it varies from child to child. Some kids are constantly on the go, bouncing off walls and struggling to sit still. Others might seem dreamy or distracted, lost in their own thoughts, and some have a mix of both behaviors. These differences are why ADHD is divided into three main types: inattentive, hyperactive, impulsive, and combined. Understanding ADHD starts with recognizing that it's not a one-size-fits-all diagnosis. Every child is unique, and so is their experience with ADHD. By learning more about this condition, you're already taking an important step towards supporting your child. Now let's break it down further. Imagine your child's brain as a busy highway. In a typical brain, traffic flows smoothly with cars or thoughts moving efficiently from one place to another. But in a brain with ADHD, it's like there's a traffic jam. Signals get delayed and distractions pop up everywhere. This doesn't mean your child isn't smart or capable. It just means their brain works a little differently. The good news? With the right strategies and support, kids with ADHD can succeed in school, build strong relationships, and grow into confident adults. So take a deep breath. You've got this. When it comes to ADHD, there are three main types: inattentive, hyperactive, impulsive, and combined. Each type has its own set of symptoms, but they all share one thing in common. They make life a little more challenging for kids. Let's explore what these types look like in action. First up, we have the inattentive type. Kids with this type of ADHD often struggle to focus. They might lose their homework, forget instructions, or daydream during class. It's not that they don't care, they just have a harder time staying on task. Imagine trying to read a book while someone keeps switching the channel on the TV. That's what it feels like for them. Next, there's the hyperactive, impulsive type. These kids are always on the move. They might fidget, talk non-stop, or interrupt others without meaning to. Picture a race car engine that's stuck in overdrive. They want to slow down, but their brains keep revving up. Finally, we have the combined type, which is exactly what it sounds like, a mix of inattentive and hyperactive, impulsive symptoms. These kids face challenges in both areas, making it even trickier to navigate daily life. Let's dive deeper into the symptoms. For the inattentive type, common signs include difficulty organizing tasks, avoiding activities that require sustained mental effort, and being easily distracted. On the flip side, hyperactive, impulsive symptoms might look like excessive talking, difficulty waiting their turn, or acting without thinking. It's important to remember that ADHD symptoms can change over time. A child who's super hyperactive at age 6 might become less physically active but still struggle with focus as a teenager. That's why it's crucial to stay flexible and adjust your approach as your child grows. If you're reading this and thinking, "Wow, that sounds like my kid," don't panic. ADHD isn't a life sentence. It's a challenge that can be managed. The key is understanding your child's specific needs and finding strategies that work for them. One last thing to keep in mind: ADHD doesn't define your child. It's just one part of who they are. Beneath the symptoms, they're still the same amazing, creative, and lovable kid you've always known. When it comes to ADHD, there's no single cause. It's a mix of biological and environmental factors that come together to shape how the brain develops. Let's start with the biological side of things. Research shows that ADHD often runs in families, which means genetics play a big role. If you or someone in your family has ADHD, there's a higher chance your child might have it too. Think of it like inheriting curly hair or blue eyes. Sometimes these traits just pass down through generations. But genes aren't the whole story. Brain chemistry also plays a part. In kids with ADHD, certain neurotransmitters, the chemicals that help brain cells communicate, don't work as efficiently as they should. Dopamine, for example, is a key player in focus and motivation. When dopamine levels are off, it can make it harder for kids to stay on task or feel rewarded for their efforts. Now let's talk about the environment. While biology lays the foundation, external factors can influence whether ADHD symptoms show up or get worse. For instance, exposure to toxins during pregnancy or early childhood, like lead or cigarette smoke, can increase the risk of ADHD. Similarly, premature birth or low birth weight can also contribute to developmental challenges. Stressful environments can play a role too. Kids who grow up in chaotic households or face trauma may be more likely to exhibit ADHD-like behaviors, even if they don't have the condition. That's why creating a calm, supportive home environment is so important, not just for managing ADHD, but for helping all kids thrive. It's worth noting that ADHD isn't caused by things like eating too much sugar, watching too much TV, or bad parenting. These myths have been debunked time and again. Instead, ADHD is rooted in biology and shaped by experiences. Understanding this can help reduce guilt or blame and allow you to focus on what really matters, supporting your child. The takeaway: ADHD is complex and its causes are multifaceted, but knowing where it comes from can give you a clearer picture of how to help your child navigate their unique challenges. Let's dig a little deeper into the genetic side of ADHD. Studies show that up to 70 to 80% of ADHD cases are linked to hereditary factors. That means if ADHD runs in your family, there's a good chance it could affect your child too. Scientists have even identified specific genes associated with ADHD, particularly those involved in dopamine regulation. It's like having a blueprint that makes some brains more prone to ADHD than others. But here's the thing. Genetics alone don't tell the whole story. Even if your child inherits a predisposition for ADHD, other factors can influence whether symptoms appear and how severe they are. For example, prenatal health plays a big role. If a mum smokes, drinks alcohol, or experiences high levels of stress during pregnancy, it can increase the likelihood of ADHD in her child. Early childhood experiences matter too. Kids who experience neglect, abuse, or significant instability are more likely to develop ADHD-like behaviors. This doesn't mean every child in a tough situation will have ADHD, but it does highlight the importance of providing love, structure, and security from day one. Another contributing factor: sleep or lack thereof. Poor sleep habits can worsen ADHD symptoms, making it even harder for kids to focus or regulate their emotions. On the flip side, getting enough rest can make a world of difference. Finally, diet and nutrition deserve a mention. While food doesn't directly cause ADHD, certain dietary choices can impact behavior. For example, sugary snacks and processed foods might lead to energy spikes and crashes, which can make hyperactivity worse. On the other hand, balanced meals rich in protein, healthy fats, and complex carbs can support brain health and stabilize mood. The bottom line: ADHD is influenced by a combination of genetics and life experiences. By understanding these factors, you can take steps to minimize risks and create a supportive environment for your child. Remember, knowledge is power, and you're already on the right track. One of the first steps in helping a child with ADHD is recognizing the signs, and this often starts at home. Parents are usually the first to notice that something seems off. Maybe your child forgets to do their chores, loses their toys constantly, or struggles to sit still during dinner. These behaviors might seem like typical kid stuff, but when they happen over and over again and start interfering with daily life, it could be a sign of ADHD. At home, you might notice things like difficulty following instructions. For example, you ask your child to clean up their room and 10 minutes later they're playing with their toys instead. Or maybe they interrupt conversations, blurt out answers, or have trouble waiting their turn during family games. These aren't just quirks, they're potential indicators of ADHD. Now let's talk about school. Teachers are often the first to spot ADHD symptoms in the classroom, because they see how kids interact with peers and handle structured tasks. A child with ADHD might struggle to stay seated, fidget constantly, or call out answers without raising their hand. They might also have trouble organizing their work, finishing assignments, or paying attention during lessons. But here's the tricky part. ADHD doesn't always look the same at home and school. Some kids are hyperactive and impulsive in both settings, while others might only show symptoms in one place. For instance, a child who's super active at home might seem quieter and more withdrawn at school, or vice versa. This inconsistency can make it harder to recognize ADHD, which is why it's important to look at the big picture. Another thing to watch for is emotional sensitivity. Kids with ADHD often feel emotions more intensely than their peers. They might get frustrated easily, cry over small setbacks, or have meltdowns when things don't go their way. While all kids have moments like this, children with ADHD tend to experience them more frequently and intensely. If you're seeing these patterns at home or hearing similar feedback from teachers, it might be time to dig deeper. But remember, these behaviors don't automatically mean ADHD. Other conditions like anxiety, learning disabilities, or even boredom can mimic ADHD symptoms. That's why getting a professional evaluation is so important. Parents and teachers play a crucial role in spotting ADHD early, and their collaboration can make all the difference. Think of it as a team effort. You're both observing the child in different environments and sharing insights to piece together the full picture. For parents, early detection starts with paying attention to patterns. Is your child consistently struggling with focus, organization, or impulse control? Are these challenges affecting their relationships, schoolwork, or ability to follow rules? If so, it's worth keeping a journal to track specific behaviors. Write down what you notice, when it happens, and how long it lasts. This kind of detailed record can be incredibly helpful when talking to a doctor or specialist. Teachers, on the other hand, bring a unique perspective. They see how your child interacts with classmates, follows classroom routines, and handles academic tasks. A teacher might notice that your child has trouble staying on task during independent work or gets distracted by noises in the hallway. They might also observe social challenges like interrupting peers or struggling to take turns. The key is open communication between parents and teachers. If a teacher mentions concerns about your child's behavior, don't panic, but do take it seriously. Ask questions, share your own observations, and work together to decide on next steps. Similarly, if you're worried about ADHD, reach out to your child's teacher. They might have valuable insights that confirm or challenge your suspicions. It's also important to involve your child in the conversation in an age-appropriate way. Ask them how they're feeling about school, friendships, and daily tasks. Do they feel overwhelmed, frustrated, like they're always in trouble? Their answers can provide clues about what's going on beneath the surface. Finally, don't underestimate the power of trust and patience. Detecting ADHD early isn't about labeling your child, it's about understanding their needs and finding ways to support them. By working together, parents and teachers can create a strong foundation for diagnosis and intervention. If you suspect your child might have ADHD, the next step is seeking professional help. This process can feel overwhelming, but breaking it down into manageable steps makes it easier. The goal is to get a clear understanding of your child's strengths and challenges so you can create a plan to support them effectively. The first step is scheduling an appointment with your child's pediatrician. They're often the starting point for evaluations because they know your child's medical history and can rule out other conditions that might mimic ADHD, like hearing or vision problems, anxiety, or sleep disorders. During this visit, be prepared to share your observations, any notes you've kept, and feedback from teachers. The more information you provide, the better equipped the doctor will be to guide you. If the pediatrician suspects ADHD, they may refer you to a specialist, such as a child psychologist, psychiatrist, or neurologist. These professionals have advanced training in diagnosing and treating ADHD. Depending on their approach, they might use interviews, questionnaires, or standardized tests to assess your child's behavior, attention, and emotional regulation. One common tool is the Vanderbilt Assessment Scale, which is often used by both parents and teachers to evaluate ADHD symptoms. It asks detailed questions about focus, impulsivity, hyperactivity, and how these behaviors impact daily life. Another option is the Conners rating scales, which provide a comprehensive look at ADHD symptoms across different settings. These tools aren't just checkboxes. They're designed to paint a full picture of your child's experiences. It's also important to involve your child in the process. While they might not fully understand what's happening, reassuring them that the evaluation is about helping them feel their best can ease any anxiety. Let them know they're not in trouble and that everyone is working together to figure out how to make life easier for them. Finally, don't rush the process. Diagnosing ADHD takes time because it's not just about ticking boxes, it's about understanding your child as a whole person. Be patient, ask questions, and advocate for your child if something doesn't feel right. Remember, this is the first step toward giving them the tools they need to thrive. So, what actually happens during a diagnostic evaluation for ADHD? If you've never been through this process before, it's natural to feel a little nervous. But knowing what to expect can help you feel more prepared and more confident about moving forward. The evaluation typically starts with a detailed interview. The specialist will ask about your child's developmental history, including milestones like when they started walking or talking. They'll also want to know about family history, specifically whether anyone else in the family has ADHD or related conditions. This helps them understand whether genetics might be playing a role. Next, they'll dive into your child's current behaviors. You might be asked questions like, does your child struggle to finish tasks, or how often do they interrupt others? Teachers might also be asked similar questions to provide insight into how your child behaves in school. These interviews are designed to identify patterns that align with ADHD symptoms. After the interviews, the specialist might use standardized tests or rating scales to gather more data. For example, they might ask you and your child's teacher to complete a questionnaire about attention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. These tools help ensure the diagnosis is based on objective criteria, not just personal opinions. In some cases, additional assessments might be needed. For instance, if your child is struggling academically, the specialist might recommend educational testing to check for learning disabilities. Similarly, if emotional challenges like anxiety or depression are present, further evaluation might be necessary to address those issues alongside ADHD. Throughout the process, the specialist will also observe your child directly. This might happen during play, conversation, or structured activities. Watching how your child interacts and responds in real time can provide valuable clues about their attention span, impulse control, and social skills. At the end of the evaluation, the specialist will review all the information they've gathered and share their findings with you. If they diagnose ADHD, they'll explain which type, inattentive, hyperactive, impulsive, or combined, and discuss treatment options. If ADHD isn't the issue, they'll help you explore other possibilities and guide you toward appropriate resources. Remember, a diagnosis isn't the end of the road, it's the beginning of a journey. It gives you clarity and direction, empowering you to take steps that will make a real difference in your child's life. One of the most powerful ways to help a child with ADHD is by creating a structured environment at home. Kids with ADHD thrive on predictability because it reduces uncertainty and helps them feel more in control. When life feels chaotic, their symptoms like impulsivity and distractibility can get worse, but when they know what to expect, they're better able to focus and stay on track. Start by setting up a daily routine. Consistency is key here. For example, establish regular times for waking up, meals, homework, play, and bedtime. You don't need to be rigid, life happens, but having a general schedule provides a framework that kids with ADHD can rely on. Visual aids like charts or checklists can make routines even more effective. A morning checklist might include tasks like brushing teeth, getting dressed, and packing their backpack. This way, your child knows exactly what's expected of them. Transitions can be especially challenging for kids with ADHD, so give plenty of warnings before switching activities. For instance, if dinner is in 10 minutes, let them know ahead of time instead of springing it on them last minute. Phrases like, "We'll start cleaning up in 5 minutes" or 5 more minutes of playtime before bed can help ease the shift. Another helpful strategy is designating specific spaces for certain activities. For example, create a quiet, clutter-free area for homework and reading. This minimizes distractions and signals to your child that it's time to focus. Similarly, have a designated spot for toys, shoes, and school supplies so everything has its place. Organization might not come naturally to kids with ADHD, but clear systems can make a big difference. Finally, involve your child in creating routines. Ask them for input on what works best for them, like whether they prefer doing homework right after school or after a short break. When kids feel like they have a say, they're more likely to stick to the plan. Communication is another cornerstone of supporting a child with ADHD. Because kids with ADHD often struggle with impulse control and emotional regulation, how you talk to them can make a huge difference in how they respond. The goal is to foster understanding, patience, and connection while minimizing frustration for both of you. First, keep instructions clear and concise. Instead of saying, "Go clean your room," break it down into smaller steps. Put your toys in the bin, then make your bed. Kids with ADHD can easily get overwhelmed by vague directions, so specificity is your friend. Using visual cues like pointing to where something goes can also reinforce verbal instructions. Positive reinforcement is another game changer. Praise your child when they follow directions or complete tasks, no matter how small. For example, "Great job putting your shoes away," or "I love how you started your homework without being asked." Positive feedback boosts their confidence and encourages them to repeat the behavior. When things don't go as planned, and they won't always, try to stay calm. Yelling or criticizing can escalate tension and damage your relationship. Instead, address the issue directly but gently. For example, if your child interrupts during a conversation, you might say, "I see you're excited to share, but let's wait until I'm done talking." Then remind them to raise their hand or use a signal to indicate they want to speak. Active listening is equally important. Sometimes kids with ADHD act out because they feel misunderstood or unheard. Take a moment to listen to their perspective, even if it seems irrational. Saying things like, "I hear you're upset about this. Tell me more," shows empathy and validates their feelings. Lastly, model the behavior you want to see. If you want your child to manage their emotions better, demonstrate how to handle stress or frustration calmly. Kids learn a lot by watching adults, so lead by example whenever possible. When it comes to helping a child with ADHD succeed academically, collaboration between parents and teachers is essential. Teachers spend a significant amount of time with your child and can provide valuable insights into their behavior, strengths, and challenges in the classroom. By working together, you can create a supportive environment that helps your child thrive both at home and at school. Start by initiating open communication with your child's teacher early in the school year, or as soon as you suspect ADHD might be an issue. Schedule a meeting to discuss your concerns and share any information you've gathered, such as observations from home or notes from a healthcare provider. Be clear about what you're hoping to achieve, a partnership focused on supporting your child's learning and emotional well-being. During these conversations, ask for the teacher's perspective. How does your child behave in class? Do they struggle with focus, staying seated, or completing assignments? Are there specific subjects or activities where they excel? This two-way exchange of information can help identify patterns and pinpoint areas where additional support might be needed. Once you've established a dialogue, work together to implement strategies that align with your child's needs. For example, if your child has trouble staying organized, the teacher might agree to provide written instructions for assignments or check in with them at the end of each day to ensure they've written down their homework. Small adjustments like these can make a big difference in helping your child stay on track. It's also important to advocate for accommodations when necessary. Many schools offer supports like preferential seating closer to the teacher and away from distractions, extended time for tests, or breaks during long tasks. These accommodations aren't about giving your child an unfair advantage, they're about leveling the playing field so they can show what they're truly capable of achieving. Finally, maintain regular contact throughout the school year. Check in periodically to see how things are going and whether adjustments need to be made. Celebrate successes together too, whether it's improved focus during lessons or better grades on assignments. When parents and teachers collaborate effectively, everyone benefits, especially the child. For some children with ADHD, additional formal support through an individualized education plan or IEP or a 504 plan may be necessary. Both options aim to provide accommodations and modifications tailored to your child's unique needs, but they differ slightly in scope and eligibility requirements. Understanding these plans can empower you to advocate effectively for your child's academic success. An IEP is designed for students who meet specific criteria for a disability under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. To qualify, a child must demonstrate that their ADHD significantly impacts their ability to learn in a general education setting. If eligible, the IEP team, which includes parents, teachers, and specialists, will develop a customized plan outlining goals, services, and accommodations. Examples include specialized instruction, speech therapy, or assistive technology. Progress is monitored regularly and the plan is updated annually. A 504 plan, on the other hand, falls under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and is broader in scope. It doesn't require a formal diagnosis, but instead focuses on ensuring equal access to education for students with disabilities. Accommodations under a 504 plan might include things like extra time on tests, frequent breaks, or modified assignments. Unlike an IEP, a 504 plan doesn't involve specialized instruction, but still provides critical support to help your child succeed. Deciding which plan is right for your child depends on their individual needs and the severity of their challenges. Start by discussing options with your child's teacher or school counselor. They can guide you through the evaluation process, which typically involves input from multiple sources, including parents, educators, and healthcare professionals. Once a plan is in place, stay involved. Attend meetings, review progress reports, and communicate openly with the school staff. If something isn't working, don't hesitate to request changes. Remember, these plans are living documents meant to evolve as your child grows and their needs change. Both IEPs and 504 plans send a powerful message. Your child deserves every opportunity to succeed, and the school community is committed to helping them reach their full potential. Positive reinforcement is one of the most effective tools for managing ADHD behaviors at home. Kids with ADHD often respond well to immediate feedback, especially when it's positive. A reward system can motivate them to complete tasks, follow rules, and develop good habits over time. The key is to make the system clear, consistent, and fun, because if it feels like a chore, neither you nor your child will stick with it. Start by identifying specific behaviors you want to encourage. These could be things like completing homework without reminders, cleaning up toys, or using kind words with siblings. Be realistic and focus on 1 or 2 goals at a time. Trying to tackle too many behaviors at once can overwhelm both you and your child. Next, decide on the rewards. These don't have to be expensive or elaborate. Simple incentives often work best. For younger kids, stickers or small toys might do the trick. Older kids might prefer privileges like extra screen time, choosing a family movie night film, or staying up 15 minutes later on weekends. Tailor the rewards to your child's interests to keep them engaged. Once you've set the goals and rewards, create a visual tracker. This could be a sticker chart, a jar where they earn marbles, or even a digital app designed for behavior tracking. Seeing progress toward a reward gives kids a sense of accomplishment and keeps them motivated. For example, if your child earns 5 stickers for completing chores, they get to pick a prize from a treasure box you've prepared. Timing matters too. Rewards should come quickly after the desired behavior to reinforce the connection. If your child finishes their homework, praise them right away and mark it on the chart immediately. Delayed rewards can lose their impact, especially for kids who struggle with patience. Finally, celebrate small wins along the way. Even partial successes deserve recognition because they show effort and improvement. Over time, these positive experiences build confidence and help your child internalize good habits. While reward systems are great, day-to-day positive feedback plays an equally important role in shaping behavior. Kids with ADHD often hear what they're doing wrong, whether it's interrupting, forgetting instructions, or acting impulsively. Shifting the focus to what they're doing right can transform their self-esteem and willingness to cooperate. The first step is to catch your child being good. And this means actively looking for moments when they demonstrate positive behavior, no matter how small. Did they share a toy with their sibling? Finish part of their homework independently? Sit quietly during dinner? Acknowledge it. Specific praise works best. Instead of saying, "Good job, try. I love how you shared your crayons with your sister. That was so kind." Verbal praise isn't the only way to offer positive feedback. Non-verbal cues like smiles, high fives, or hugs can also go a long way. For some kids, physical affection or gestures feel more meaningful than words. Experiment to see what resonates most with your child. Another powerful strategy is to frame corrections positively. Instead of saying, "Stop running inside," try, "Let's use our walking feet indoors." Redirecting behavior with a solution-oriented approach helps kids understand expectations without feeling criticized. Consistency is crucial here. Make it a habit to notice and acknowledge good behavior every single day. It might feel unnatural at first, especially if you're used to focusing on missteps, but over time, it becomes second nature, and the payoff is worth it. When kids feel appreciated, they're more likely to repeat the behaviors that earned them praise. Lastly, involve others in offering positive feedback. Encourage grandparents, babysitters, coaches, or teachers to join in celebrating your child's efforts. Hearing encouragement from multiple sources reinforces the message that they're valued and capable. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a widely used and highly effective form of therapy for children with ADHD. It focuses on helping kids recognize unhelpful thought patterns and replace them with healthier, more productive ways of thinking. While medication can address the biological aspects of ADHD, CBT tackles the emotional and behavioral challenges that often accompany the condition, things like frustration, impulsivity, and low self-esteem.